My name is Andrea Stone, and I am going to be explaining my life through a developmental lens. And the first stage is infancy, and I'm going to be using the theories of Erikson and Piaget. And in infancy, my development can be understood through Erikson's stage of trust versus mistrust. I was raised by consistent and nurturing caregivers, and I was described as a well-tempered child, especially compared to my brother. These early experiences likely helped me develop a foundational sense that the world is generally safe and that my needs would be met. However, I also experienced a major environmental transition early in life, moving from Australia, where I was actually born, to Boston, Massachusetts. While I don't consciously remember this, relocation at an early stage may influence a subtle sense of instability or adaptation in my development. From Piaget's sensor motor stage, my understanding of the world was rooted in sensory experiences and interactions. During this period, consistent caregiving likely reinforced predictable patterns which supported both cognitive development and emotional security. Overall, this stage likely contributed to a baseline sense of trust, even though later life experiences may have complicated that foundation. The next stage is early childhood, and I'm going to be using the theories of social learning and information processing. So, in early childhood, my personality began to definitely take clearer shape. I was definitely an outgoing kid who made friends easily, but I was also highly sensitive and prone to anxiety and emotional outbursts. Through social learning theory, much of my emotional development can be understood by observing my primary caregiver, who was my mom. My dad traveled a lot for work, so my mom was really my only caregiver during this time. And she experienced high emotional intensity, and she struggled with emotional regulation. As a result, I likely modeled similar patterns, including heightened emotional responses and anxiety. Additionally, during this stage, I moved 2 more times. From an information processing perspective, repeated changes in environment may have influenced how I interpreted stability and predictability. My brain may have become more attuned to scanning for change or uncertainty, which can contribute to anxiety. This stage was definitely critical in shaping my emotional patterns, particularly with sensitivity, reactivity, and early tendencies towards anxious thinking. The next stage is middle childhood, and I'm going to be using Erikson and Bronfenbrenner's theories. So, in middle childhood, Erikson's stage of industry versus inferiority is especially relevant. I actually was diagnosed with ADHD, specifically the hyperactive part, during my middle childhood. This I actually think contributed a lot to my success in sports, and surprisingly, it did not do anything with my academic confidence. I still felt very confident in school and did well in class, even after being diagnosed with ADHD. At the same time, sports became a very central part of my identity. I was raised in a very high sports oriented family, and by age 11, volleyball became my primary focus of sports that I played. I became part of a competitive club team that helped me build confidence, discipline, and a strong work ethic. Using Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory, my development was shaped by multiple layers of influence. My microsystem included my family and sports teams, both of which emphasized achievement. My mesosystem reflected the interaction between school and athletics, where success in both areas reinforced my identity. And the broader macrosystem, including cultural values around achievement and competition, also played a role. Although this stage strengthened my sense of competence, it also introduced early forms of pressure that would become much more significant later. And this next stage is adolescence, and I'm going to be using the theories of Piaget and Vygotsky for this stage. So, adolescence for me was a period of significant identity exploration and challenge, as it is for many. I went through different phases trying to figure out who I was, and I definitely struggled behaviorally during my freshman year of high school. According to Piaget's formal operational stage, I developed the ability to think abstractly and reflect on myself and my future. This cognitive shift also allowed for increased overthinking and self criticism, which contributed to my anxiety. During this time, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, marking a turning point for my mental health. From Vygotsky's sociocultural perspective, my environment placed a strong emphasis on success in both sports and academics. Cultural expectations, especially around playing volleyball in college, shaped my identity and goals. Additionally, moving schools during my junior year of high school was a major developmental challenge. I had a great group of friends, and just in the middle of my junior year, we had to move to California. And so that was a big challenge for me to make new friends and be on a new volleyball team. But it reflects both resilience and also the stress associated with instability. Overall, adolescence intensified both my strengths and vulnerabilities. And finally, the last stage of emerging adulthood and adulthood. And I'm going to be using Erikson and Piaget again, and Piaget with his quasi-reflective thinking. So in emerging adulthood, Erikson's stage of intimacy versus isolation became central to me. I entered my first serious relationship 4 years ago, which has been a significant part of my development. I'm still with him. He taught me so much about love, the power of vulnerability, and the importance of communication. And I am so thankful for the lessons I learn in my relationship every single day and how he makes me a better person every day. My college experience brought some of my greatest challenges, for sure. Playing D1 volleyball while balancing academics, social life, and mental health was definitely overwhelming at times. At age 20, I experienced a particularly difficult period. It was kind of later on in lockdown, and like many people during COVID, the loss of structure and heightened anxiety became really, really hard for me. I also fractured my back during this time, which was really hard. I couldn't play volleyball at all. That was very, very hard for me and a challenge that I had to get over. Additionally, being rejected from my dream school, UCSB, and instead attending Long Beach State required a major cognitive and emotional adjustment. While initially disappointing, I was able to reframe the experience and make it work for me, which I think reflects resilience. From a cognitive perspective, I think I demonstrate quasi-reflective reasoning, where I understand that knowledge is not absolute and that experiences are subjective and context-dependent. I no longer see things as purely black and white, which I believe marks significant cognitive growth. Looking across my development, my explanatory style definitely reflects both pessimistic and optimistic tendencies. My early environment and emotional modeling contributed to a tendency to internalize and generalize negative experiences, which aligns with a more pessimistic explanatory style. However, my life experiences also demonstrate resilience. I've repeatedly adapted to change, including multiple moves, academic and athletic pressures, mental health challenges, and setbacks such as rejection from my dream school. According to Martin's Seligman, explanatory style is not fixed and can be changed. This is especially meaningful to me as I actively work towards developing a more optimistic perspective, viewing challenges as temporary, specific, and not entirely personal. This shift is definitely important, not only for my own well-being, but also for my future as a therapist, where understanding resilience, cognition, and development will be essential in helping others navigate their own life experiences.